Chapter 1. Fallen from the Stars. The planet Zorgalia was a world filled with magic, ancient beings, and unexplored lands. It was home to both mortals and immortals, sentient dragons, shadows from parallel dimensions, eternal timekeepers, and mysterious nomads who could speak to the stars. On the far edge of this world, in the city of Astrigard, lived a knight named Kel, one of the last warriors of the Order of Light, whose armor shone with the energy of ancient suns. Kel was not a native of Zorgalia. He had arrived from a distant star system, having lost his home planet in a war against void devourers, beings that consumed entire worlds. Crashing onto Zorgalia, he found refuge among the locals, who mistook him for the mythical, celestial warrior foretold in ancient prophecies. But Kale did not believe in legends. He was searching for only one answer. Was it possible to save his lost world? Chapter 2. The Mystery of the Black Shard. When Kale first set foot on Zorgalia, he discovered that the planet held something unique, a magical core, from which energy could be drawn to resurrect worlds. But to reach it, he needed to find the Black Shard, an ancient artifact capable of controlling the core's energy. The problem was that the shard was already in the hands of the Dark Archon Valaris, an ancient sorcerer who existed beyond dimensions. Valaris sought to turn Zorgalia into an eternal prison, trapping the souls of all living beings. Kale had to find a way to reach Valaris before he activated the shard. Chapter 3. The Alliance with the Time Dragons. In search of power to oppose the Archon, Kale ventured into the Whispering Shadows forest, where the Time Dragons dwelled. These mighty beings could see both the past and the future, but they never interfered in the fate of mortals. Kale approached their leader, Ciliandrus, whose voice echoed as if 1,000 timelines spoke at once. You are the celestial warrior, yet your heart is filled with sorrow. What do you seek, outsider? The dragon asked. I seek the power to save my world and stop Valaris. Your world's fate is already sealed, but the fate of this world is not. What will you choose? Kel knew he had no choice. He had to become Zorglia's protector, even if it meant abandoning his hopes of restoring his home planet. Ciliandrus granted him the Shard of Time, an artifact capable of slowing or accelerating time itself. But everything had a cost, and Kale had yet to realize how steep that cost would be. Chapter 4. The Siege of the Shadow Castle. Valaris' army was gathering. His legions consisted of creatures from other worlds, shadow sentinels, spectral knights, and endless hordes of forgotten souls. Kale assembled his own army, flame lords, warriors from volcanic lands, elven wind mages, beings capable of controlling hurricanes, time dragons ready to wield their temporal powers in battle, knights of Astrigard, mortal soldiers willing to fight for the future of their planet. The siege began on the night of the Great Lunar Convergence, the only time when the Shard of Time could counter Valaris' power. The battle was brutal. Valaris was stronger than Kel had anticipated, but in the most critical moment, as the enemy prepared to strike him down, Kale activated the Shard of Time. Time froze, He had only one chance to strike directly at Valorous' heart before reality resumed its course. Chapter 5. The Price of Victory. When time resumed, Valorous collapsed to the ground. The black shard slipped from his grasp, crumbling into dust. Zorgalia was saved, but Kel realized he had paid a heavy price. The shard of time had burned away his own life force. Now he was bound to this planet forever. He could never leave Zorgalia. In his final moments, he looked up at the starry sky, knowing that his home world would remain only a memory, and thus ended the legend of Zorgalia. But someday, when the night sky shimmers with 1,000 stars, someone will hear the whisper of the ancients. The shadows of Zorgalia never fade. They are merely waiting. Chapter 6. The Echo of Forgotten Stars. Kale had accepted his fate. He was now bound to Zorgalia, his body forever altered by the shard of time. His soul no longer aged, yet he felt the weight of centuries pressing upon him. Though the black shard was destroyed, Kale knew that Valorous was not truly gone. Ancient beings of immense power never truly perished. They slumbered, waiting for the right moment to return. And so, Kale spent decades wandering the lands of Zorgalia, searching for any trace of the Argent's lingering influence. He studied the lost libraries of the Eldritch scholars, consulted the seers of the abyss, and ventured deep into the realm of the Forgotten Ones. It was there, in the ruined halls of Duskhaven, that he found it. A pulse in the void, a whisper barely audible, yet filled with malice. You have merely delayed the inevitable night. My return is written in the stars. The voice was weak, but undeniable. Valorous was still out there. Chapter 7. The Crimson Eclipse. The sky above Zorgalia darkened. An unnatural eclipse shrouded the land in eternal dusk. Crops withered, rivers slowed, and even the stars seemed dimmer. Kel knew this was no ordinary celestial event. Something was breaking through the veil between worlds. Seeking answers, he traveled to the Tower of the Astral Keepers, where the ancient race known as the Aetherans resided. They were beings of pure energy existing between time and space. The eldest of them, Syrian, the unseen, gazed into the shifting mists of reality and spoke. The balance has been disrupted. The void stirs once more. Is it Valorous? Kale asked, gripping the hilt of his sword. No, something older. Something forgotten. Kale felt a chill run down his spine. If something older than Valorous was awakening, then the very foundation of Zorgalia was in danger. Chapter 8. The Return of the Starborn. Legend spoke of the Starborn, an ancient race of celestial warriors who had once fought against the devourers of the void. It was said that they vanished long before the first kingdoms of Zorgalia were formed. Kel had always believed his own people were the last remnants of those who once battled against cosmic horrors. But now, new visions plagued his dreams, memories not his own. He saw great silver ships soaring through the void, wielding weapons forged from dying stars. He saw warriors clad in celestial armor standing against an endless tide of shadows. And then he saw a beacon of light hidden deep beneath the ruins of an ancient city. This beacon was calling him, and it was not of this world. Chapter 9. The Lost City of Sephiroth. Guided by visions, Kale ventured to the desolate ashen wastes, where a city long thought to be a myth lay buried beneath the sands. Sephiroth, the lost city of the Starborn. As Kale stepped into the ruins, the air crackled with unseen energy. Strange glyphs lined the walls, pulsing with a rhythm that felt live. Then he heard it, a voice, not in words, but in thought, resonating deep within his mind. You are the last of the fallen, and yet you are not alone. Before him, a great stasis chamber began to open, and inside, in a shimmering field of frozen time, stood another warrior clad in armor of the stars. Chapter 10. The War That Never Ended. The warrior inside the chamber stirred, their eyes glowing like twin stars. Kale could feel it. This was not a relic of the past. This was a living Starborn. Who are you? Kale asked, stepping forward. The figure exhaled a slow, steady breath, as if awakening from an eternity of slumber. I am Elendra of the First Horizon. Kale's mind reeled. The First Horizon was a name he had seen only in the oldest of texts. It was the first recorded war between light and shadow, a battle fought long before even the rise of Valyris. The war never ended, did it? Kale murmured. Elendra nodded. No, the enemy merely waits. And now they stir once more. A sense of dread settled over Kale. The battle for Zorgalia had been only a prelude. Something darker was coming. Something that had been waiting since the dawn of time.